tuned in to Celeste The Therapist Podcast. Hello, my name is Celeste. Thank you so much for giving me a try. If you are new here, I want to say thank you so much for checking me out. What we do here is I talk about areas of our lives that we get stuck in. I talk about why we get stuck, and I help you shift the way you think about it by giving you practical tools. I'm all about using what you have, starting where you can. And I think a lot of times people tend to give up because they don't understand why they're feeling these things that they're feeling or why things are happening. And I find that the more educated we are about a topic, the better it is for us to create change in our life. If you are a longtime listener, thank you so much for sticking it out with me. I appreciate you. If you enjoy these episodes that I do me a favor, share it with somebody that you love. If you want a topic discussed, all you got to do is email me info@celestethetherapist.com. If you want to follow me, you can follow me everywhere at Celeste the Therapist. Also, I have a whole wellness center that I created called Shifting the Way You Think. And if you want to learn more about the Wellness Center, get involved, attend one of the classes, all you got to do is go to stwyt.com. Again, that's www.stwyt.com. All right, let's get into this amazing episode. Today, we're talking about the holidays. I've been in private practice since 2015, which means I have walked people through many situations around the holidays. And one thing that never fails is I feel that we do not realize the power we have to make choices for us as adults. And you may wonder, why is that the case? Because logically, that you can say no, that you don't have to, but you feel like you have to. And when you think about feelings, they change. If you're new to this podcast, one of the things that I'm big on is helping you understand the difference between what you feel like versus what you need to do for yourself. So today we're talking about the holidays, and I want you to listen intentionally. If you struggle around the holidays, you may not even understand why. So I want to help educate you. So this podcast is really here to help you shift the way you think, because you're stuck in one thought process. It keeps you feeling stuck in life. And my goal is to help you release some of that and shift. So if you are in this session with me, you are somebody that wants to work on shifting. Now, when it comes to the holidays, a lot of times your mental health could be impacted. One of the reasons why this could be the case is family. One thing about in America, we see a lot of commercials and we see a lot of advertisements around family with Thanksgiving and Christmas. We'll see them together. You have all these cute Christmas movies and shows where they show people together. And for some people, that may not have been the case, right? You may not have had that kind of outlook in your family life. Another thing around family, when you think about the holidays, is that some people, it may be a loss, right? Some of the people and the ways that you've done Thanksgiving or Christmas or the holidays no longer looks that way. There may be a lot of tension in families, right? Because it happens. We're kind of forced together by blood, but everybody's personality is different, and so sometimes it starts to look different. And then when it starts to look different, what we unfortunately we don't do is adjust our relationship with people, right? If you were going to work and you was going every day, and every 2 weeks when you were supposed to get paid, you were not getting paid, I promise you, you would adjust the way you're showing up to work. Like, you wouldn't show up the same because you recognize you're not getting paid for the hours that you're putting in. When it comes to our relationship, especially when it comes to family, and a lot of times friends too, we don't make the adjustment. We don't recognize that when I go over here to this person's house, it could even be a parent, right? I find myself feeling like small, like chastised, put on a spot, judged for my choices. Especially a lot of times the choices that people are being judged on are choices that are not harming anyone. And I look at people's parents. So I work a lot with people who have struggled with their relationship with their parent. And one of the things that I do is I will help people kind of look at things from their parents' perspective. And looking at it that way doesn't excuse behavior, but it helps you understand it. Sometimes culturally, this is the way parents have been taught or brought up to think about things, right? And because of that, they continue to pass that on. And so when I'm working with my adults around their relationship with their parent as an adult, what they are able to work on doing is creating boundaries with that parent. And that's something that's hard to do because even though you're of age, even though you're not living in that house, remember your inner child still lives within you. And so sometimes it's really hard to put up those boundaries because of how much it feels like you're doing something wrong. But a lot of times people are suffering in silence. And I think it's important to accept or acknowledge what the relationship is because a lot of times we go into these relationships with our caregivers, parents, family members, hoping that things would be different or asking ourselves, why do they continue to treat me this way? Why is it that every time I go here, I feel X, Y, and Z? I want you to reframe that and think about what is it that I'm allowing in this relationship that makes them think it's okay to treat me like this, whether it's a parent, a child, a partner, right? A coworker, a best friend. A lot of times it's the way you're allowing things to happen. It's easy to put the blame on someone else. It's easy to say like, why, how could they do this? Especially what I find is people that are very kind and giving and nice, they don't understand why people would do this to them. And I want to help you get power. I want you to think about what you can do. And no is a complete sentence, but I do recognize that saying no can feel really hard. So I just want to honor that, right? And help you think about ways to think about it differently. So when it comes to the holidays, in your mental health, those are some of the areas and reasons why you may find yourself struggling, whether it's past trauma, whether it's current trauma, whether it's that you've lost somebody in the past. Also, when it comes to being single, right? When you are in a relationship, no one says like, "Oh, why you're?" I've never heard no one say, "Why are you in a relationship?" What I do hear people saying to people is, "Why are you still single?" And so when you are questioned that way, you don't realize it, but it makes it seem like something's wrong with you or something's wrong with being single. And so around the holidays, it feels like it like attacks you more, that feeling. So just being mindful of these things. And when I think about being mindful of these things, not just intellectually, but physically, paying attention to how your feelings are manifesting in your body. If you're a longtime listener, I always talk about the fact that the hard emotions for me manifest in my back. I can feel it heavily. I talk to people, sometimes it is in their throat, sometimes it's in your stomach, especially your stomach. A lot of people, nausea, constipation, migraines. Sometimes people have migraines, right? Different parts of your body can get activated based off of your stress. And so if this is something that you never knew about or never heard of, I want you to start paying attention. If you're struggling with any kind of these physical ailments, I want you to start to pay attention to when they're coming up, right? What am I doing when this is happening? What situation am I dealing with? If my back starts hurting, I'm checking in with myself, my stomach. If I'm feeling constipated, I'm like, dang, what did I eat or did I drink any water? If I'm not sleeping well, right? I always say like, okay, what's going on? Our body gives us signs that we're not okay, but growing up, and it's not about blaming anybody, but we didn't have the tools to be taught that maybe something else is going on. And so we learn how to deal with it. We learn how to cope. We learn how to self medicate, right? And so now I want you to understand that just because this is the way you've done it your entire life doesn't mean you can't change up the way you've been doing things. So as the holidays are approaching, right? I want you to think about self-care and self-compassion. Like, how can I take care of myself during this time, especially if it feels like a hard thing for you, right? Try to be proactive in your planning in your care for yourself. And then the stress that comes with it. I want you to think about some things as we are approaching the holidays. I hope you're enjoying the episode. Quick announcement. I want to give you some ways you can support, right? I have two books. One is called Relationship Goals. It's a guide to a healthy relationship. I also have a guided journal. And if you find yourself stuck in thoughts, want to get your thoughts on paper, I ask you different questions and I also ask you how you're feeling. I provide you with the feelings chart. If you go to celestethetherapist.com, you can find 365 days of intentional living along with relationship goals. Another way you can support me, I have this wellness center whoop, whoop, that I'm so excited about called Shifting the Way You Think Wellness Center. At my center, I do not want finances to be a reason why people can't get what they need. So if you want to donate a class to someone, please feel free to go to my website, stwyt.com, and you can give a donation. The classes run between $15 and $35. My goal is for everyone to be able to access these services regardless of finances. So if you can donate, please donate to your girl center. I would be greatly appreciated. All right, y'all, let's get back into this amazing episode. One, don't overschedule yourself, right? You don't have to say yes to everything. It's okay to say no. It may feel like it's not okay. Feelings are going to change, but asking yourself what you need, right? If this person's having something, that person's having something, this person, and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, like I got to go to all of these different things. How do you pay for that after you say yes to all these people? Number two, I want you to think about managing your gift giving. Things are tight. The economy is the economy. And for some reason, people guilt themselves or feel like they have to buy gifts because they've always brought gifts. If you cannot afford to buy gifts, because financial stress is a real thing, if you can't afford to buy gifts, it's okay, right? Like it's okay. Unfortunately, we only think about other people. We don't think about how we're affected by our choices. So being mindful of your gift giving. And then number three, being responsible for your food and alcohol intake. Holidays are here. It's so easy to be comforted by food, by alcohol, right? They're both legal, they're both readily accessible, but they also create problems, right? If you're struggling with weight, if you're struggling with diabetes, if you're struggling with high blood pressure, and some of these things that I'm talking about could be stress related too, right? If you're struggling with these things, be mindful and intentional on how you're caring for yourself. If you're showing up to holiday parties or events, right, and you're trying to be mindful of your food intake, maybe eat something before you go that is more nutritional, right? Because a lot of times parties have more comforting foods that are really good and tasty, but maybe not the best for you. Be mindful of what you say yes to. Being mindful, as I'm going through these things to think about, being in a state of being mindful allows you to make better choices for yourself, right? Number four, enjoy your family time on your terms, right? So let's say you don't know how to say no about going to an event that a family member is hosting, but it's very triggering. Give yourself a time limit, right? If the event starts at 5 and it tends to go to 11, 12. Give yourself an hour, 2 hours, and let them know in advance, like, hey, like I only could stay for 2 hours, right? Try to give yourself an out. Not that you have to. You don't owe anybody a reason why you can't do something. But I do understand sometimes for people, they're not used to saying no and advocating for themselves. And so you may want to just go back home and unwind and decompress from all of the activities, and that's okay. That's something you got to say to yourself, to say to your mind. It's okay if I don't want to do this. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I feel nauseous after. My back hurts after. I tend to get migraines after. Do I want to keep the peace outside because I don't want them to create any like drama or nonsense about me not going? Or do I want to keep the peace inside? When you're trying to keep the peace outside and you're struggling inside, you're allowing chaos to be created in you, and it's just not fair. And I think the more we start to think about it that way, the better it is for us when we are making the choices that we need to make. Number five, respect differences, like being mindful that everybody is going to think differently about something, and that's okay. Number 6, honor your routines. Around the holidays, we tend to stop our routines, right? So it's really important that we are making sure that we're honoring the things that we need to do for ourselves, the self-care, our water intake, our sleep intake, making sure we're moving our body. Those 3 things that I just mentioned, sleep, water, and what you're putting in your body are so important to your mental status. And unfortunately, around this time of year, maybe you've started, maybe you want to start, but people don't really think that deeply about it. I really want you to start thinking deeply about honoring your routines and the things that you need to do for yourself. Ground yourself, and then everything else comes after. When it comes to my life, and I wear so many hats, taking care of myself is a priority, because if I don't take care of myself, if I'm not grounded, nothing else works out the way it needs to work out. Nothing else matters, right? And I'll do an episode on that about like the way that I create self-care and my routines for myself. I think it would be helpful for people to hear. It doesn't just all come together. It's a very intentional process that I make for myself. Um, and then I want you to think about honoring the losses, right? The holidays are going to bring up some hard moments for people that may have experienced a lot of losses over the years. And it's okay, you're human, right? So I do want you to think about, how can I honor the loss, right? I'm feeling these things because I miss this person, I miss that person, and that's okay, right? A lot of times, especially in the Black community, we're not used to being vulnerable, right? We look at vulnerability as something that's a weakness. We look at the moments that we're crying, if we're not pleading, we are challenging ourselves and say, like, what's wrong with you? Why are you feeling this way? You have everything you need in front of you. You can have everything you need and still feel sad. It's really okay. And I think the more that we're patient with ourselves and we are not beating ourselves up for how we're feeling, I feel like we will be different about the way that we're managing it. If we're not honoring it, we're self-medicating and we don't realize that's what's happening. If we're not honoring our feelings and our emotions, we're not doing the things that we need to do because we're so clogged up with things that need to be released from us. And as we get older, they tend to show up in a medical way. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this makes sense. If I said anything that resonates for you, I always tell people, understand you have the power to create change in your life, right? But you have to have faith in yourself. Also, as you're making changes, these things that I'm talking about, understand that it's not an overnight. I was going to say it may not be an overnight fix. It's not an overnight fix. You will be fighting your own system. It's not the people outside of you that you start fighting when you're trying to make changes. It's your system, because your system's not used to it. Your system may be used to saying yes all the time. Your system may be used to just doing the things culturally that we have done over the years. And so when you're trying to fall back, it feels very scary. I just want to warn you. So as you're feeling scary about these things, understand that feeling is going to change over time, because the more you acclimate your system, your mind, your everything to healing and change, your system starts to say like, oh, okay, Celeste, I see what you're doing. We're really trying to work on ourselves. And then eventually it starts to feel more normalized to do that, right? And as you're working on yourself, if you come from a very dysfunctional family and you're trying to be functional, understand they will look at you as dysfunctional, as what's wrong with you. That's okay. It sucks. It's hard, but also you may be going in a different direction than people in your life, and that's okay. So, if you want to learn more about me, you can go to my website, celestethetherapist.com. If you want to learn more about my wellness center that I created, you can go to stwyt.com, and that just stands for shiftingthewayouthink.com. I hope this episode was helpful. If there's ever an episode you want to hear, all you got to do is hit me up, let me know, and I will make sure to create it on the pod. Until next time, beautiful people, I will talk to you later. Bye.